Close your eyes and let your mind travel back through time, deep into the mist-shrouded valleys and majestic mountain peaks of the Cordillera. This ancient, mythical realm is governed by ancient martial arts, mysterious elemental magic, and secret ninja clans that have guarded the land for millennia. For centuries, the balance of power in this region rested upon two dominant factions, the Scarlet Sect and the Shadow Sect. Though both shared a common heritage of ninjutsu and shadow technique, their philosophies on power, honor, and warfare were fundamentally opposed, leading to an endless, quiet rivalry. In the heart of the Scarlet Sect's hidden mountain fortress, a baby girl was born under the ominous, blood-red glow of a full moon. The clan astrologers and elders viewed her birth under the crimson lunar eclipse as a profound ominous sign that she was destined either to bring ultimate glory to her clan or plunge it into ruin. From the very moment she took her first steps, her life was stripped of normal childhood pleasures. She was not raised with gentle songs or playful games. She was forged through relentless discipline, harsh physical training, and absolute obedience. Her destiny was decided before she could even speak. Her father was the revered Stone Face Grandmaster of the Scarlet Sectamen, known for his strictness and unyielding high standards. He saw his daughter not merely as a child, but as the future pillar of their faction. He demanded complete perfection in every strike, every step, and every breath she took. While other young children in the village played among the blooming cherry trees, her daily routine consisted of grueling physical tests. She was made to run across icy mountain streams on thin ropes, balance on razor-sharp bamboo stalks and heavy winds, and meditate under freezing waterfalls for hours on end. Her training with concealed weapons began almost as soon as she could hold an iron blade. She spent endless nights in dark training halls, practicing target, throwing in pitch blackness, until she could hit moving targets. Purely by listening to the subtle vibrations of air currents created by their movement, her natural talent was nothing short of miraculous. By the time she reached 10 years of age, her agility exceeded that of veteran clan assassins. She could move through dense forests without making a single sound, leaving no footprints on soft mud or fallen snow, moving quieter than an autumn leaf. Her eyes burned with a fierce, unyielding flame of pride and determination. She absorbed every lesson instantly, mastering complex martial forms in days that took senior disciples years to comprehend. She possessed an inner drive that made the concept of defeat completely unacceptable to her spirit. She quickly mastered the standard arsenal of the Scarlet Sect. Kunai, shurikens, throwing darts, and short blades became fluid extensions of her own arms. In training sparring matches, senior disciples hesitated to face her, as her lightning-fast movements made her appear as a crimson phantom in the arena. Yet, despite her incredible achievements and the immense praise heaped upon her by the clan elders, her heart remained deeply unsatisfied. She felt no true accomplishment in defeating opponents who could not push her to her absolute limits, and her soul craved a genuine challenge. Because across the roaring river valley that divided their territories, in the ominous stronghold of the Shadow Sect, stood another young martial prodigy, a boy of her exact age, possessing equal talent, a cold, unreadable demeanor, and a mastery over dark shadow arts. The Shadow Sect practiced forbidden arts that allowed their warriors to merge with shadows, manipulate dark spiritual energy, and strike targets from hidden dimensions. Where the Scarlet Sect emphasized speed and precision, the Shadow Sect focused on stealth, deception, and overwhelming spiritual force. The two rival sects hosted an ancient tradition. Every few years, their young disciples would gather at the Neutral Valley border for a ceremonial martial tournament. ostensibly held to maintain peace between the factions. These tournaments were actually fierce displays of dominance and tactical power. She remembered her very first formal encounter with the young Shadow Sect prodigy with crystal clarity. The morning mist hung thick over the wooden arena platform as the two young fighters stepped forward, their eyes locking in an intense, silent glare that froze the surrounding air. The signal was given, and the duel began instantly. She unleashed a storm of precision-thrown blothies, targeting his vital points with blinding speed. But to her shock, he didn't even draw his weapon. He melted into the morning shadows, dodging every single strike with effortless, fluid grace. The duel lasted for over an hour, escalating into a breathtaking exhibition of high-speed acrobatics, phantom strikes, and counterattacks. Neither could gain a decisive advantage over the other. When the tournament judges finally called a time limit, the match ended in a tense, hard-fought draw. For the first time in her young life, she had encountered someone who could match her speed, anticipate her tactical traps, and read her movements before she even made them. Standing opposite him, catching her breath, she felt a strange, thrilling sensation she had never experienced before. That single draw ignited a fierce, burning obsession deep within her soul. The thought that there existed someone in the world who was her equal, someone who prevented her from claiming absolute superiority, kept her awake during long nights in her quarters. From that day forward, every drop of sweat she shed during lonely midnight training sessions, every bruised muscle, and every scar carved into her skin served one single goal: to surpass him decisively and force him to acknowledge her complete mastery over the blade. Over the next several years, the two young prodigies met in dozens of secret duels along the rocky borders of the river. Away from the watchful eyes of their clan masters, they tested their growing strength against each other in pure, unadulterated combat. Sometimes she would claim victory by a fraction of a second, catching him off guard with a novel throwing technique. Other times, he would outmaneuver her using subtle shadow clones and claim the match. The tally of their victories and defeats remained almost perfectly balanced. With every clash of steel, every dodged strike, and every shared moment of exhaustion, after hours of fighting, an unspoken bond began to form between them. They rarely spoke words during these secret meetings. Their weapons and eyes communicated everything that needed to be said. She came to understand his fighting style better than anyone else in the world, recognizing the subtle shift in his shoulders before he executed a shadow dance. In turn, he knew every nuance of her movement, adapting to her attacks with an intuitive They developed a deep, mutual respect, hidden beneath layers of fierce competitive rivalry and proud silence. To the rest of the world, they were representatives of enemy factions bound for conflict. But to each other, they were the only two people who truly understood the burden of perfection. During quiet late-night hours, after brutal training sessions, she would often sit on the high stone roof of her family's pagoda, looking out across the dark river valley toward the glowing lanterns of the Shadow Sect. She would watch a single light burning in his training room, knowing he was pushing himself just as hard. She found comfort in the knowledge that somewhere out there in the dark mist, he was striving to get stronger, forcing her to push beyond her own limits. They were like two solitary mountain peaks facing each other across a vast chasm, connected by an invisible thread of destiny. However, behind her fierce competitive drive and proud exterior, a sudden transformation was taking place within her heart. What had begun as an intense childhood rivalry and obsession with winning had slowly, inevitably evolved into something far deeper and more complex. She had fallen deeply, hopelessly in love with her rival, his quiet strength, his unwavering focus, and the rare, subtle half-smile he gave whenever she managed to disarm him. During a duel, had captivated her heart in ways no traditional ninja training could prepare her for. In the cold, pragmatic world of the ninja sects, romantic love was viewed as a dangerous distraction, a fatal weakness that compromised a warrior's judgment and invited death on the battlefield. To love a warrior from a rival sect was considered nothing short of high treason. Recognizing the immense danger of her emotions, she locked her feelings deep within the fortress of her mind. She put on a mask of cold arrogance and aggressive rivalry whenever they met, convincing herself that she could suppress her heart through sheer willpower. She told herself that the only acceptable way to express her feelings and to earn his lifelong devotion was to become the ultimate warrior of her clan, to stand at the absolute pinnacle of power as the Grand Master of the Scarlet Sect, where no one could question her choices, while she secretly dreamed of a future where their two sects could unite and end their historical enmity. A dark, catastrophic event was brewing in the shadows of the Valia catastrophe that would shatter her dreams and change the fate of the Riverlands forever. Deep within the secret vaults of the Shadow Sect, an ancient dark relic was kept under powerful seals, a demonic sword known as the Soul Eater. The weapon possessed a sinister consciousness, whispering temptation to those who sought quick, unearned power. Her rival had an older brother, senior disciple within the Shadow Sect, who was widely expected to become the next clan leader. However, the senior brother harbored deep insecurity and resentment, feeling overshadowed by his younger brother's genius and rapid rise in power, consumed by jealousy and a desperate desire for absolute strength. The older brother broke into the sacred vault, shattered the ancient binding seals, and drew the demonic blade. The moment his hand gripped the hilt, the dark spirit within the sword invaded his mind, corrupting his soul completely. Driven mad by the blade's demonic influence, the corrupted senior brother went on a murderous rampage through the Shadow Sect fortress, slaughtering the clan masters, stealing sacred scrolls, and burning the ancient library before escaping into the Foggy Mountain. The horrific news of the Shadow Sect's downfall sent shockwaves throughout the Cadia in a single night of fire and blood. The balance of power that had maintained peace for generations was completely destroyed, leaving the region in chaos. Her rival was left utterly devastated by the massacre. He bore the heavy weight of dishonor and personal guilt, believing that his own success had pushed his brother toward darkness. He swore a solemn, unbreakable vow before the ashes of his ancestor. He pledged to hunt down his corrupted brother across the world, reclaim the stolen demonic sword, and eliminate the dark stain on his family's name even, if he had to cross the boundaries of life and death, or sacrifice his own soul in the process. When word reached her that he was preparing to leave the Cadia Riverlands on this suicide mission, panic seized her heart. She knew how dangerous the corrupted blade was, and she knew that his blind desire for vengeance would lead him straight into a deadly trap. On the night before his departure, under a pale moon, and amidst a gentle shower of falling sakura petals near the river border, she waited for him. As his dark silhouette approached through the mist, she stepped onto the wooden bridge, blocking his path. "Why must you pursue this dark path completely alone?" she demanded, her voice trembling slightly despite her best efforts to maintain composure. She kept her hand resting firmly on her weapon hilt. "The corrupted blade is beyond anything you have faced. Let me fight beside you." She looked into his eyes, searching for a trace of the rival she knew, but his gaze was cold, hollow, and filled with a dark, consuming grief. He didn't even draw his weapon. He simply stared at her with distant detachment that chilled her blood. "This is my family's sin, and my personal burden to bear," he said quietly, his voice devoid of warmth. "It has nothing to do with you or your sect. Stand aside." His words cut deeper than any physical blade, severing the silent bond they had built over years. "It does have to do with me," she shouted, her pride cracking as tears threatened to spill from her eyes. "We are equals. We have fought side by side. Do you truly think I will stand here and watch you throw your life away for vengeance?" Without answering, he activated his shadow technique, dissolving into dark mist and passing right through her. When he rematerialized on the far side of the river, he didn't look back. He vanished into the night, leaving her standing alone beneath the falling blossoms. Standing alone on the desolate bridge, consumed by anger, grief, and a profound sense of helplessness. A fierce realization washed over her. She realized that as she currently was, she lacked the authority and power to force him to accept her help. If she wanted to follow him into the dark, chaotic world beyond the Cadia Riverlands and protect him from his own self-destructive quest, she needed to abandon all hesitation. She needed to claim the supreme power reserved only for the ruler of her clan. She returned to the stronghold of the Scarlet Sect and marched directly to the private quarters of her father, the Grand Master. She demanded access to the most dangerous and closely guarded secret of their faction, the ancestral inner sanctum, deep beneath the mountain, protected by deadly traps and complex spiritual seals, rested the ultimate treasure of the Scarlet Sect, the legendary weapon known as the Higanba. It was an ancient, sentient artifact shaped like a massive, multi-bladed spinning disc. The Higanbana was infused with the spiritual essence of red spider lily, the mythical flowers that bloom along the banks of the underworld river, guiding souls between life and death. The weapon possessed immense, volatile spiritual energy, capable of shredding army formations. However, the weapon was cursed with a terrifying risk. Over the centuries, several Grandmasters who had attempted to bond with the Higanbana were consumed by its spiritual energy. The weapon demanded absolute mental clarity, an unbreakable willpower, and supreme emotional control. Her father stood before the sealed, heavy iron doors of the sanctum, gazing down at his daughter with a grave expression. "If your heart harbors a single shadow of doubt, fear, or weakness, the Higanbana will drain your soul and leave you a hollow shell. Warne, my heart harbors no fear." "Father," she replied, her voice firm and ringing with absolute confidence, "I will master the weapon, assume leadership of the sect, and protect our legacy, no matter what price the artifact demands of my body." Satisfied with her resolve, the Grand Master performed the ancient hand seals, unlocking the massive iron doors. She stepped alone into the cold, glowing chamber where the Higanbana floated atop a stone altar, surrounded by swirling red spiritual mist. The moment she approached the altar, the weapon sensed her presence. The multi-bladed ring began to spin rapidly, emitting a high-pitched resonant hum that vibrated through her very bones. Crimson spiritual light flooded the entire cavern, painting the stone walls in blood red. She extended her hand toward the spinning core of the weapon, reaching past the barrier of razor-sharp spiritual energy. The instant her fingers made contact with the artifact, a wave of unbearable, searing agony surged through her arm and directly into her soul. The spirit of the Higanbana invaded her mind, subjecting her to a relentless spiritual trial. Images of past failures, doubts, memories of her rival leaving her in the mist, and fear of rejection flooded her consciousness, trying to shatter her mental focus. The weapon's energy attempted to consume her life force, filling her mind with dark whispers. "Why suffer for one who turned his back on you? Surrender your mind to us, and we shall grant you power to destroy everything that brings you pain." She gritted her teeth, blood dripping from her lips as she resisted the dark spiritual backlash. She drew upon every ounce of her pride, her years of grueling training, and most importantly, her unbreakable love for her rival. "My heart belongs to She roared mentally, channeling her pure spiritual energy to overpower the weapon's chaotic nature. I do not seek power to destroy. Seek power to protect the one I love and claim my rightful destiny. A spiritual aura exploded outwards. In a brilliant aura of crimson light, overwhelming the ancient spirits within the weapon. The chaotic red mist surrounding the altar was forcibly drawn into her body, bonding her spirit permanently with the artifact. Slowly, the wild spinning of the Higanbana slowed into a controlled, fluid rhythm. The floating weapon settled softly into her hands, pulsing with a gentle, harmonious red glow that matched the beating of her own heart. She had accomplished what many legendary grandmasters before her had failed to do. She had successfully tamed the Higanbana, unlocking its true, devastating potential without losing her mind or succumbing to corruption. When she emerged from the subterranean sanctum, holding the glowing crimson weapon at her side, the clan elders and disciples fell to their knees in awe. By ancient law, her mastery over the Higanbana cemented her status as the supreme Grand Master of the Scarlet Sect. She did not tarry to celebrate her ascension. She tied her long, dark hair into a tight ponytail, donned her lightweight crimson battle armor, and instructed the elders to govern the sect in her absence. Her journey into the wider world was about to begin. Armed with the Higanbana, and fueled by an unshakable sense of purpose, she departed the Kadia Riverlands, stepping into the vast, unfamiliar, and dangerous expanse of the Land of Dawn. Her quest was simple. Track down her rival before his vengeance destroyed him. Her search led her through bustling imperial cities, dark haunted forests, arid desert wasteland, and ancient ruins left behind by fallen civilizations. Everywhere she traveled, she gathered rumors and whispers about a shadowy ninja carrying out solitary justice. She heard stories of a warrior in blue ninja attire who fought like a ghost, hunting down demonic beasts and rogue dark cultists in search of a specific corrupted blade. She knew without a shadow of a doubt that it was him. Whenever she finally caught up to him on various battlefields, she didn't offer dramatic speeches or demand explanations. She understood that words were meaningless in the heat of battle. Instead, she simply drew the Higanbana and leapt into the fray beside him. In the crucible of combat against hordes of dark monsters and mercenary bands, their synergy remained as terrifyingly perfect as it had been during their childhood duels. They moved together like synchronized predators, a whirlwind of blue shadows and crimson petals. With a flick of her wrist, she would launch the spinning Higanbana into dense crowds of enemies, the weapon bouncing rapidly from target to target, slicing through iron armor while he struck down the high-priority targets from the shadows. Yet, despite her constant presence, protection, and unwavering support, he remained emotionally guarded, maintaining a cold distance between them. He refused to acknowledge her romantic feelings, consumed entirely by his quest to defeat his brother. She accepted his emotional distance with a proud, resilient smile. She refused to play the victim or beg for his affection. She proved time and again that she was not a fragile girl needing protection, but an equal partner and an absolute master of the battlefield. She came to view her love for him as symbolic of the Higanbana itself, the crimson flower that blooms along the edge of the underworld river, a flower that blooms brightest on the dangerous boundary between life and death, beautiful, lethal, and eternal. She vowed that no matter how many enemies stood in their path, no matter how powerful the corrupted blade became, she would stand by his side until he reclaimed his honor or die trying beside him in a shower of crimson petals. Now that we have explored her tragic, epic backstory and her eternal journey alongside her rival, let's look at how her lore and mastery over the Higanbana translate directly into her dominant gameplay kit in Mobile Legends. First, let's analyze her incredibly unique passive ability. Unlike almost every other traditional marksman in the game who must buy physical lifesteal items early to stay healthy, her spiritual mastery grants her a built-in lifesteal mechanic. Even more impressive, any excess lifesteal she receives when her health bar is completely full is converted directly into a glowing spiritual shield that scales with her level and physical attack attributes. While the spiritual shield remains active on her health bar, she gains a significant boost to her movement speed, allowing her to kite enemies effortlessly. But more importantly, the shield renders her completely immune to all crowd control effects. This means that enemy assassins and mages who rely on stun, freeze, airborne, or transform abilities will see their crowd control skills completely fail against her, as long as her shield is up, making her one of the safest marksmen during laning phase. Second, let's examine her primary damage dealer. Her first skill, when activated, her basic attacks become empowered with the ancient spiritual energy of her throne. Weapons split apart upon impact. Instead of hitting a single target, her empowered basic attacks continuously bounce between all nearby enemy heroes, minions, and jungle creeps, dealing physical damage with every single bounce in rapid succession. This bouncing attack mechanic allows her to clear incoming minion waves in a fraction of a second, while simultaneously poking enemy heroes hiding behind their minion lines during the early goal lane phase. In late-game team fights, when 5 enemy heroes are grouped tightly together in narrow jungle corridors, her bouncing empowered basic attacks dish out astronomical aerial effect critical damage that can wipe out an entire team in seconds. Third, let's look at her tactical mobility skill. Her second skill, she performs a swift tactical dash in a target direction while launching a spiritual kunai forward along her trajectory. If her thrown kunai connects with an enemy target, it deals solid physical damage, applies a lingering slow effect to their movement speed, and instantly restores a generous portion of her mana pool, ensuring she rarely runs out of stamina. And finally, let's discuss her iconic, game-changing ultimate ability, the ultimate expression of the Higanbana's terrifying power. She unleashes the sealed spiritual energy within her weapon, hurling a massive blooming flower of crimson energy forward. The giant spiritual flower travels in a straight line, piercing through minions. The moment it collides with an enemy hero, it instantly blooms into a full crimson lily of spiritual destruction. Upon blooming, it deals massive burst physical damage and instantly immobilizes the target hero along with all nearby enemy heroes trapped within the blossom's wide blast radius for several seconds. Even better, after a brief delay, the blossom pulses again, spreading the immobilization effect to any additional enemy units who are foolish enough to step near the blooming spiritual flower during its duration. This game-winning ultimate allows her to single-handedly initiate team fights or completely reverse losing skirmishes by locking down 3, 4, or even all 5 enemy heroes in place. She creates an unmissable setup for her team's area of effect spells, while the enemy team is frozen in place. By the blooming Higanbana, she can safely stand at maximum attack range, toggle on her first skill, and rain down an endless torrent of bouncing critical strikes until nothing remains of her foes. Her overall playstyle demands strategic patience, precise positioning, and sharp discipline. In the early game, she focuses on farming safely in the gold lane, using her CC immune shield and wave clear to avoid. Once she completes her core attack speed and critical strike items such as Kurogan side Demon Hunter sword and Golden Staff she transitions into an absolute unstoppable late game hyper carry, capable of melting tanks and squishies alike. She is the proud, unyielding Grandmaster of the Scarlet Sect, a supreme marksman who commands the crimson petals of death, a warrior who sacrificed everything to chase the shadow of the one she loves across the land of dawn, a female ninja who tamed the cursed weapon to save her clan, a leader who locked her heart in iron armor to protect her rival, and a marksman who commands bouncing crimson blades and game-changing crowd control in every team fight. So, my friends, who is this mysterious hero? Did you guess her identity correctly from the clues about the Higanbana blossom? Her CCU spiritual shield, her bouncing shuriken-basing attacks, and her eternal rivalry with the Shadow Sect ninja. Drop your answer in the comments section right now before the video ends. If you got it right on your first guess, smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dive lore stories. And tell me in the comments, which hero should we cover next?